Hey friend, this is Daniel with the Be Known Audio Experience. Today, we have a very special pod for you. We recently did a live on Facebook and we are repurposing that live because we believe in content recycling. This live, man, we talked about some good stuff. We talked about, are you listening to your numbers? Your numbers talk, they're whispering, are you listening? So I don't want to give away too much. I want you to listen to this, very special. If you have any questions, please reach out to us on social media. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on YouTube. Folks, all you had to do is search Be Known. With all that being said, let's get right to it.
Can you hear that? It's the sound of numbers whispering sweetly in the wind. They talk. Are you listening?
No, but seriously, are you listening? Are you listening to your numbers? Do you know what they're saying? Do you know what they're talking about? This is actually the biggest realization, the biggest aha moment I had. I was actually talking to this about with Trey earlier, just about this very subject. I said, Trey, as soon as I realized that it all comes down to numbers and how they talk, it's like, whoa. Now, of course, there's the creative side of marketing and everything. But once you have something, once you launch something, are you listening to your numbers? And today might get a little technical. That's okay. It might get a little tactical. That's okay. But really, it's about how you can employ strategies that allow you to not play guessing games. You're not playing hide and seek with your funnels or ads or emails or any of your attention grabbing methods. Because hey, that doesn't work. Turn it off. Hey, that does work. Turn it up. Are you listening? Are you listening to your numbers? So that's what we're going to talk about today. Man, that's a good topic. I'm excited about it. I really am. Trey, anything you want to add before I kind of jump into, what some things they need to be listening to, looking at?
It's interesting we talk about this. When we start talking about numbers, and I think that it's one of those things where you hear this all the time, but do you know your numbers as a business? Right? Do you know your numbers? And I think the difference between long-term successful sustainable businesses, especially in the marketing business, especially when you're talking about online marketing and what it takes to be successful in this arena. I think that it's one of those things where if you don't know your numbers on a daily basis, for instance, we were just looking at one of our campaigns getting $3 leads, which if $3 leads is something that you're down for, call us. But if we're looking at it in $3 leads, and we know that at a $3 lead that we're going to get X amount of views of the webinar, and X amount of views of the webinar turns into Y customers. And, we're able to know exactly how much we make based off of the very first statistic that we see because of the programs that we put in place and the tracking and the spread. And, there's some spreadsheets involved, right? Like we definitely use spreadsheets. We were looking at a really beautiful spreadsheet that one of our advertisers put together just the other day, Daniel, weren't we? That was a good one.
Yeah, we
And
sure
so,
were.
so, there's the importance of knowing your numbers and formulating that. And I mean, it even starts very simple. Do you have a budget? Do you have a budget? Do you know how much money you spend every month? Do you know how much money auto drafts out of your account every month? Have you taken the time to go and look at it? And if you haven't, what do I need to say to you to get you to do so? Because I need you to formulate a solid game plan of action on what you're going to do and know where your money's going to go before it goes there. So anyways, that's all I've got, Mr. Pope.
Yeah, really just focus on the foundations of, do you have a budget? Do you know what you're spending? Do you know what you're making? And then from the marketing side of things, because that's what we love to do, is how much are you spending per X result? And I know last week we talked about a conversion. What's a conversion? Well, it's any objective you want someone to take. A click to turn into a customer, a browser to turn into a buyer. What's that end conversion that someone takes that you track? Whether it's how many people view your presentation or training or video, or how many people go to your order form, or how many people actually purchase, how many people fill out an application, how many people book a call. What is that number? It's a percentage. All it is you divide the number of people who actually took action purchase, booked call, whatever it is, divide that by the number of unique visitors. Okay, let's do some simple math here. Let's say, for example, I'm gonna pull out my trusty calculator for my good friends at Microsoft Windows. Let's say you had 20 people purchase something, whatever it is. Let's say it's an online training program. Great, you had 20 people purchase. Congratulations, my friend. Now, let's say at 20 people, but you had 1,000 unique visitors. Let's do that. So we take 20 and divide it by 1,000. Well, gives us 0.02 times it by 100. That gives us 2%. What does that tell us? That means we have a 2% purchase conversion rate. You're saying, Daniel, is that great? Is that bad? I don't know. I don't know. How do I know? Well, there's averages. See, if you follow us long enough, you'll start to hear things that we drop as averages. There's some really good articles out there. I don't know any off the top of I don't know specific links off the top of my head where you need to go, but there's some from Digital Marketer and Espresso, and maybe, I think I'll go ahead and compile one myself, but what are your averages? Is that good? Is it bad? Well, it depends on the product. It depends on the funnel. It depends on what you're selling. Now, let's go back to the drawing board there and say that purchase was $1,000. Okay, it was a $1,000 purchase. We had 20 people buy. Well, let's do the math. 20 times 1,000. Well, it's simple. Daniel, it's 20,000. Yeah, my calculator said so. So $20,000 in revenue from 1,000 people that came in. 2% purchased. Daniel, what about the 98%? Well, don't worry. We'll get to that. But let's do the math on the front end. In order to get 1,000 people, 1,000 unique individuals who have desires, wants, dreams, hopes, goals to go to your thing, whether it's a training presentation or a live event or whatever it is, you had 1,000 people do something. What is the cost per click? What is the cost per show up? What is the cost per view? Let's do the math on that. Let's say it's a click. Let's say 1,000 people went to a training video registration page. All right, we've all seen those before. Some people call them webinars, some people call them master classes, whatever it is, well, pretty much the same nowadays. 1,000 people went, and in doing so, you spent, let's just call it $5,000. You spent $5,000, however you did. Maybe you put up a billboard on the side of the street, you ran some ads, you paid $500 to use somebody's list, you had a radio spot. I hope you're not doing a radio spot. Let's say you got all that attention in and you paid $5,000 for 1,000 people over that campaign to come in. Let's do the math on that. We just divide the number into itself. So we take $5,000 spent divided by 100 clicks. That's $5 per click. It's a little high, yeah, but it also depends on your funnel. Because when we look at the end game, the end result, we had to shell out $5,000. Oh no, $5,000. But in actuality, we made a profit of $15,000 because we made 20,000 gross. 20,000 minus the 5,000 is what? 15,000. So you see, it's not always about the immediate revenue. Now, a lot of times it is. If you're just getting started and you're saying, Daniel, you're saying I need to spend $5,000. Well, not necessarily. If you have the means to do so, by all means, there's 3 different phases to it. We can get into that later. I'll glance over them quickly. Creation, validation, optimization. Depends on where you are on the spectrum. So going back to that, it's all numbers. Now, let's say, for example, that product was only $97. Okay, oh my goodness. You had 20 people purchase a $97 product. 20 times 97. What is that, folks? That is $1,940. But you still spent the same amount of money. So you spent $5,000. So you made $1,940. You spent $5,000. I'm afraid you lost $3,000 within that first go round. But in actuality, might not have lost it because you can always sell on the back end. And that's the beauty of it. Whenever I'm going into a new campaign with a new client or managing expectations, I say, hey, friend, you need to understand you might not make money on day one. That's okay. They say, what? I'm gonna spend and not make any money back? I say, yeah, it's okay. Because we focus on the back end. We focus on larger and larger offers, higher and higher tickets. Because suddenly, let's say you made 20 purchases of $97, but now out of those 20 people, you had one person purchase something for $20,000. Now you say, Dana, what could that be? Well, that could be a mastermind. That could be group coaching. That could be a one-on-one call. That could be a fly out. That could be a business redevelopment session over the course of a year. Whatever it is, I'm not going to pigeonhole it right now, but sky's the limit. Be creative. So you say, okay, not only did I make $1,940, but I also made $20,000 on the back end, whether it's 1 week later or 6 weeks later, whatever it is. You spent $5,000 and you made $21,940. Let's do the math on that. 21,940 divided by 5,000. That's a 4.4x return on investment. What does that mean? For every dollar you spent, you made $4.40 in return over the course of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 6 months. So this is something that I was listening to a mentor of mine, Jay Abraham, the other day. So there's a few different ways you can run paid advertising. You can basically get attention. Number one, you can go negative, which means, oh, I'm spending $5,000, but I'm not making anything right immediately. I might make, $1,900 back. Great, I've just lost $3,000. And this is something that a lot of people don't do. So you could go negative at first, knowing that you'll make it up on the back end. If you listened last week, we talked about the Icy Hot case study and how Jay said, hey, friend, we have Icy Hot. When someone buys it, I'm not only going to pay you to sell it, I'm going to give you some extra cents on top of it. $3.50 when the product was sold for $3 or whatever, I'm going to pay you, but I want you to give me your leads. I want you to give me your list, your contact details, addresses, phone numbers, etc. Because he knew that he could follow up with those people and they would buy again and again, or they would buy. Remember, you want to get more people to buy more often. So next, we talked about going negative. Next, you break even. Okay, this is really cool because this is scalable like crazy. Let's say you spent $5,000 to get 1,000 clicks. Great, you spent $5,000, but immediately they were presented with an offer. Let's say in the span of an hour, that hour time frame. And that offer was about $250, $247, whatever it is. So you spent $5,000. You had 20 people purchase and offer something, a product or a service for $250. Let's do the math on that. 250 times 20, that's $5,000. You spent $5,000, you made $5,000. But Daniel, how does that make anybody profit? Because you have the contact info and you created a new customer. Trey, what do they say about a new customer? More likely to buy.
Oh yeah. And here's the thing, and I love this, but any existing customer, someone who's bought from you at any price point, whether $7 or 7 cents, as crazy as this is once the first exchange of money has occurred between two parties, it is 6 times more likely that another exchange will occur between those two parties than it is between someone who has never been a part of this transaction. 6 times more likely. And so how much easier is it going to be to get someone to buy something else once they've bought something the first time? It's going to be 6 times more easier. 6 times more easy. Easier. More easy. Easier. Both. More easier. It's going to be that good.
So you see, folks, you need to understand, even though you don't make money on the front end, it's okay. because you can make it up on the back end. Get more people to buy more often. Now, the third and final way that people make money on advertising is they make a profit. All right, so once again, like we talked about in the very beginning, you spent 5,000, you got 1,000 clicks, 20 people purchased. Let's say it was that $1,000 offer. Well, friend, congratulations. You made 20,000, you only spent 5,000. You made a 4x return on investment. That's great. But what's higher, the 4x return on investment or the 4.4x return on investment? I'm not saying that's a standard example, but you see how sometimes even if you go negative at first, you'll make it up in the back end. You have their contact info, you have their addresses, phone numbers, whatever it is that you captured, you have a lead. And a lead you can follow up with again, because a lead is a part of your list. And if you hit the list time and time again, that is where the money flows. My goodness gracious. You have no list, you have no leads, you have no sales, you have no business. Can't stress that enough. So if you're out there and you're saying, oh my gosh, this opens my mind. What am I doing? Am I looking at the cost per whatever, conversion, acquisition, booked call, purchase, whatever it is? Am I seeing where I need to improve or where I need to scale certain things? Am I seeing the return? Am I going negative? Am I breaking even? Am I going positive? These are thoughts to think about as you build or grow a business. Trey, I think that really gives them a great understanding of, what are the numbers saying? They're whispering. They don't talk very loudly because not a lot of people like to listen to them. They're whispering. But those who listen to the whisper, man, they understand the business inside and out.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's just listening to the numbers, right? The little whisper of the numbers. And here's the thing is like everybody's business is so different. So what numbers make the most important sense for one person's business doesn't mean that those numbers make the same amount of sense and importance and reflect upon the bottom line. Because ultimately that's what this is all about. How do we make the bottom line of the spreadsheet? How do we make the bottom line of the spreadsheet a bigger number, right? And what I mean by that is you're at the very end, the profit that comes out of this. And so in any business, knowing the numbers, understanding the numbers, especially in the digital age where marketing is what you're doing, all of this is just a bunch of ones and zeros anyways. It's all, if you've ever seen The Matrix and if you understand the way that computers actually work, then you'd understand that literally there's nothing but a bunch of ones and zeros happening that makes all of this possible. Now, it's a lot of ones and zeros, lots of yeses and nos is what that is. And in the same way, if you don't take the time to formulate a strategy and a plan and then analyze and regroup and look back to see, okay, what was successful here? What happened? What worked? What didn't work? How do we improve? How do we take this number and take it here and this number and take it here? How do we make those adjustments, those fine-tuned tweaks? Or maybe it's not necessarily that I've got to get from here to here, but maybe it's just slight improvement. So super important. I appreciate you sharing what you shared, Daniel. I think it's very wise.
All right. How about that? Man, oh man. Did you see how it's not always about making money immediately? Did you see how sometimes you can go negative and you reap the rewards on the back end? Folks, amateurs focus on the front end, professionals focus on the back end. I know that's a little honesty for you today, but it's all about honesty. I'm brutally honest because you need to hear it. If you have any questions, remember, drop a comment on Facebook, send us a message, email us, whatever you need to do. Thank you so much for listening. And if you want to watch this live, we do a daily live stream over in our group, How to Be Known Online. Go ahead and join that. That's on Facebook, How to Be Known Online. Otherwise, friend, I appreciate you. Keep on rocking and rolling.